Oh boy, here we go. Next up is Dream Theater with Parasomnia, and this is gonna ruffle some feathers for the diehard fans, diehard haters, and probably everyone in between. I'm gonna be straight up with this one, as Dream Theater was my favorite band from 2003 to probably 2019, and I'm only gonna say my own thoughts. Nothing's gonna be sensationalized. I'm not gonna kiss anyone's ass, but I'm also not gonna straight up hate either. It's just honesty from a lapsed fan. All of that said, this is not the worst Dream Theater album. It easily beats albums like When Dream and Day Nights or Systematic Chaos or The Astonishing. If you're coming into Dream Theater 40 years into their career expecting a brand new era of the band, something riveting in its innovation, mind-melting time signatures they've never done before, or really anything out of the ordinary for this band, you're only disappointing yourself because you know this is not it. That said, if you were looking for an album that has proficient musicianship, the signatures and tropes that you love from the band, those quirks that have always been there, and that familiarity that comes from the band in the 21st century, especially with Train of Thought, this is that album. Some moments disappoint me on here because as I've gotten older, my favorite songs have been penned by John Mayong. There's none of that here. There are moments that I wish could have happened more, like Jordan Rudess just going bonkers. Does happen on the Shadow Man incident for a little bit, but that's not enough. And in all honesty, I wanted more originality on this album. But this album, as dark as it gets in tone, it does feel like an old security blanket or an old pair of shoes. You may not think about them while they're gone. You might have moved on to something new to replace that security blanket or shoes, but when you put on that blanket, you put on those old shoes again, you feel that familiarity, the remembrance, the nostalgic for simpler times, and wow, do we need that in 2025 more than ever before. This is that album, and you're not going to get the most prolific, life-changing album out of Parasomnia. It's not going to be regarded as the best Dream Theater album unless you were brand new to the band and this is your first album, but after 16 albums, does it really need to be? As many moments as I hear from Train of Thought onwards, especially as I am in many songs on here, I'm also well-versed in their songwriting, so I know when they're going to do like the melodic solo, the technical solos, when James LaBrie is going to come in, the refrains, the quirky moments, the genre bending, all of that stuff. I know when it's going to happen before they get to those points. But I also don't need them to do anything different, but put out solid music at this point. Parasomnia does that for the most part. There's other nitpicks I can make, but this is already getting long. But I will say, if you want an album that hits everything you loved about the band in the past, and at least in the 21st century, maybe hints at how the band is going to finish their career, you should give this one a shot, because if you're a lapsed fan like me, a diehard fan in either direction of the old stuff, the new stuff, the Mancini stuff, whatever, it's at least worth checking out to see if it's for you and how they're gonna end their career. This easily could be their penultimate episode. This could be the start of another 3 or 4 albums left before they get to the final one, but it's near the end, and I really think they should end on Metropolis Part 3, or really it should be, in my opinion, Metropolis Part 4, The Search for Part 3. If you've ever been a fan, you owe it to yourself to see how they're gonna cross the finish line.